when wildlife ranger Sarah Collins discovered what looked like a snow-covered boulder during her emergency patrol through the remote Wyoming wilderness. She nearly walked past it without a second glance. But something about its unusual shape made her pause and take a closer look, revealing a sight that would haunt her forever. The magnificent Mustang stallion was buried alive under 3 feet of snow, barely clinging to life after being trapped for days in the worst blizzard the region had seen in decades. What happened next defied every law of nature and survival. Somehow, this dying horse found the strength to perform a miracle that would save not only his own life, but also the lives of an entire family lost in the same deadly storm. This is a story that proves miracles can happen when hope meets determination, even against impossible odds. Sarah trudged deeper through the drifts, her snow boots crunching against the frozen ground as she swept through the Teton wilderness on an emergency search. She was looking for any signs of the Henderson family, who had vanished 3 days earlier during Wyoming's most brutal blizzard in 20 years. The 34-year-old wildlife ranger, her auburn hair tucked beneath her winter gear, had determined green eyes that had seen too many tragedies in the wild. Still, she refused to give up hope. The storm had dumped more than 4 feet of snow across the mountains, creating lethal conditions that had already claimed multiple lives and left dozens stranded in remote areas. Her radio crackled with grim updates from other search teams, all reporting the same outcome: no signs of life, no tracks, no hope. Sector 7 clear. Moving to Sector 8, Sarah reported into her radio, pushing through snowdrifts that reached up to her chest. Her breath formed white clouds in the -20-degree air, and even with professional winter gear, she could feel the bitter cold creeping into her bones. Sarah had been searching for 12 hours straight, driven by the thought of the 2 young children, 8-year-old Emma and 5-year-old Jake, who had gone missing with their parents during a family camping trip when the surprise blizzard struck. With each passing hour, their chances of survival were slipping away. As she crested a small ridge overlooking Beaver Creek, Sarah noticed something that didn't belong in the pristine white landscape. Near the frozen creek bed, partially sheltered by a cluster of pine trees, sat a large, oddly shaped snow mound. "That's not natural," Sarah muttered, raising her binoculars for a closer look. The shape and placement didn't match typical snow formations, but she couldn't tell exactly what lay beneath. Approaching cautiously, she used her avalanche probe to test the snow's stability. When she was within 10 feet of the mound, she heard something that made her heart stop: the faintest whisper of labored breathing beneath the snow. "Oh my God!" Sarah gasped, dropping to her knees and digging frantically with her gloved hands. "Someone's under here." But as she brushed away the top layers of snow, what emerged wasn't human. It was the frost-covered muzzle of a horse. Her heart sank. Then her training took over. If a horse had survived buried in the snow for days, it might indicate the presence of a sheltered area where humans could also have taken refuge. "Easy, boy," she whispered, continuing to dig until the head of a magnificent Mustang stallion emerged. His black coat was coated in frost, with distinctive white markings. His eyes were closed, his breathing so shallow it was barely detectable, and his body temperature was dangerously low. The stallion, whom Sarah would later name Miracle, had somehow positioned himself in a natural depression that offered minimal protection from the storm. His body heat had created a small air pocket beneath the snow, keeping him alive. But he was clearly in the final stages of hypothermia. "How are you still breathing?" Sarah asked in awe as she checked his vital signs. By every medical standard, Miracle should have died days ago. Wild horses aren't built to survive being buried under snow for extended periods, yet here he was, holding on through sheer willpower. As she cleared more snow from around his body, she noticed something else: signs of movement in the depression. There were human-sized impressions in the snow, partially covered by the horse's body. "You were protecting someone," she whispered, her heart pounding. "Where are they, boy? Where are the people you were trying to save?" At the sound of her voice, Miracle's eyes fluttered open, revealing dark brown eyes filled with both intelligence and desperation. He seemed to understand that help had arrived, but his gaze kept shifting toward a specific direction, like he was trying to show her something vital. Sarah followed Miracle's gaze and noticed a faint depression in the snow about 20 feet away. barely visible beneath the wind-packed drifts. Her heart raced with hope. Grabbing her avalanche probe, she moved toward the area, praying that the survival of this magnificent horse might lead to the miracle she'd been searching for. Her probe struck something solid beneath the snow exactly where Miracle had been looking. Her pulse surged. Dropping to her knees in the biting cold, she began digging with frantic urgency, the -20-degree air biting at her face. Miracle watched her every move with eyes burning with desperate intelligence, as if he understood time was slipping away for whatever lay beneath the snow. Come on, come on, Sarah muttered through chattering teeth, clearing layer after layer of densely packed snow. Her radio crackled with updates from other teams, all reporting negative results. But Sarah couldn't focus on anything else, not when she was becoming increasingly certain that Miracle had been guarding something precious. Then her probe struck fabric. Bright red flashed through the snow, the unmistakable color of a high-quality winter jacket. Her training kicked in. "I've got someone," she called into her radio, her voice thick with emotion. "Sector 8, near Beaver Creek. Requesting immediate medical evac." Digging faster now, she cleared more snow until a small hand emerged, followed by the pale face of 8-year-old Emma Henderson. The girl was unconscious but alive, her body curled tightly into a ball, a position that had likely preserved her core temperature. Sarah's hands trembled as she checked for a pulse. "Weak, but steady, Emma. Can you hear me, sweetheart?" she asked gently, working to free the child from her icy grave. Emma's lips were blue, her skin ghostly, but she was breathing, more steadily than Sarah had dared to hope after 3 days in sub-zero conditions. The girl's eyelids fluttered open, unfocused and dazed. "The horse," she whispered through chattering teeth. "The big horse, he kept us warm." Sarah's heart nearly stopped. Miracle hadn't just survived the storm, he had saved them. He had deliberately used his own body heat and bulk to create a life-saving shelter. "Where are the others, Emma? Your brother? Your parents?" Sarah asked. Emma lifted her trembling hand, pointing toward another mound near Miracle's position. Sarah immediately understood. Miracle had been lying across multiple people, spreading his warmth to save as many lives as possible. This horse had been slowly dying to keep a human family alive. Working with calm, desperate precision, Sarah dug in the new area and uncovered 5-year-old Jake Henderson. Like his sister, he was unconscious but breathing. He had been wrapped in a man's oversized jacket, likely his father's, which helped insulate his small body. Jake was showing signs of severe hypothermia, but he was alive. 2 children located, both alive, Sarah reported to the command center. Continuing search for parents. And the horse. There's a wild Mustang here that appears to have sheltered them. 20 feet away, she found Tom Henderson, semi-conscious and suffering from severe frostbite on his hands and feet. The 38-year-old father had placed himself over his wife, shielding her from the cold. Lisa Henderson lay beneath him, unconscious but breathing. They had survived only because of Miracle's sacrifice. "This is impossible," Sarah whispered as she surveyed the scene. "Wild horses don't do this. They don't risk their lives for humans they don't know." But the truth was undeniable. Miracle had discovered the stranded family during the storm and made a conscious choice to save them. Using instincts no wild animal should possess, he had turned his body into a survival shelter, maintaining it for 3 days at the cost of his own life. AS helicopters approached to evacuate the Henderson family. Sarah knelt beside Miracle. The stallion was now too weak to lift his head. His breathing had grown labored, his strength nearly gone. "You did it, boy," Sarah whispered, running her hand gently over his frost-covered mane. "You saved them all. But now, we need to save you." Miracle met Sarah's eyes one last time, and in that moment, she saw something that shattered everything she thought she knew about animal consciousness. He wasn't just dying from exposure. He was holding on to see if his sacrifice had mattered. He was waiting to know that the family had survived. "They're going to make it," Sarah promised, her voice breaking. "All of them. Because you chose to be a hero." Only then did Miracle close his eyes. His breathing grew shallower as his body began shutting down, his mission of mercy complete. The medical evacuation became a desperate race against time as hypothermia continued to threaten the lives Miracle had fought so hard to protect. Yet Sarah refused to leave his side. Even as helicopters airlifted the family toward a regional trauma center, their survival still uncertain despite the horse's incredible efforts. Within 2 hours of Sarah's emergency call, Dr. James Morrison, an experienced emergency veterinarian with graying temples and steady hands that had saved countless animals, arrived by helicopter. Dr. Morrison took one look at Miracle's condition and shook his head grimly. "Sarah, this horse should have died 2 days ago," he said, conducting a field exam. "His core temperature is barely registering. He's severely dehydrated. His body's been burning its own muscle mass just to stay alive." "He was protecting a family," Sarah explained, her voice thick with emotion as she watched the veterinarian work. "For people, including 2 small children. He positioned himself to shelter them for 3 days, used his own body heat to keep them alive." Dr. Morrison paused, his experienced eyes studying the stallion's position in relation to the depression where the family had been found. "That's not random," he said quietly. "This horse deliberately created a survival shelter. Wild Mustangs aren't supposed to have that kind of cognitive ability. Getting a dying 1,200-pound horse out of the remote wilderness pushed the emergency response system to its limits. A specialized large animal rescue team had to be flown in with equipment designed to move a horse safely without causing further trauma. His chances aren't good," Dr. Morrison admitted as they prepped Miracle for evacuation. "Even if we stabilize him, the organ damage from prolonged hypothermia could be irreversible. But after what he did for that family, we owe him everything." The helicopter flight to the Animal Emergency Center was tense. Miracle's vital signs fluctuated dangerously. Sarah rode with him, never leaving his side. She spoke to the unconscious stallion constantly, while Dr. Morrison administered 4 fluids and warming protocols. "Stay with us, Miracle," Sarah whispered as his breathing grew more labored. "That family is alive because of you. Don't give up." At the emergency center, Dr. Patricia Chong, a 52-year-old hypothermia specialist with jet black hair and decades of experience, took charge of Miracle's treatment. She had saved dozens of animals from extreme cold, but never a case this severe. "This stallion's survival defies medical explanation," she told her assembled team. "His body should have shut down completely, yet he's still functioning. We're seeing a level of willpower that goes beyond normal animal behavior." The treatment was risky. Warming Miracle too quickly could trigger cardiac arrest, too slowly, and the damage could become permanent. The team had to balance aggressive intervention with meticulous monitoring. "His temperature is rising slowly," reported Maria Santos, a 28-year-old veterinary technician with warm, compassionate eyes who had volunteered to stay with Miracle around the clock. "Heart rate stabilizing, but he's still unconscious." News of Miracle's heroic actions spread quickly through the veterinary community, local media, and social platforms. Donations poured in to cover his medical expenses, and volunteers from around the country offered to assist with his recovery. But the most important update came from the hospital treating the Hendersons. Despite suffering severe frostbite and hypothermia, all 4 family members were expected to make full recoveries. The Miracle's sacrifice had worked. "He did it," Sarah told the unconscious stallion as she sat by his stall. "Emma and Jake are going to be fine. Their parents, too. You saved them all, Miracle." As if he heard her, Miracle's eyes fluttered open for the first time since the rescue. The stallion looked directly at Sarah, and in his gaze, she saw something powerful, something that told her the true Miracle wasn't just what he had done. It was what he was still willing to fight for. The horse who had defied death to save a human family was now ready to fight for his own life, and his recovery would prove just as extraordinary. 2 weeks later, Miracle had shocked every veterinarian who examined him. He had regained weight, strength, and energy, but the most unforgettable moment came when the Henderson family returned to meet the horse who had saved their lives. 8-year-old Emma, still pale but walking steadily, approached Miracle's stall with wide eyes and tear-streaked cheeks. "He's really okay?" she asked Sarah, pressing her small hand against the stall door. Miracle stepped forward cautiously. His coat had regained its deep black sheen, and his eyes were sharp, aware, and full of that same calm intelligence. "He's more than okay," Sarah replied, her voice full of awe. Miracle lowered his head gently to Emma's level and nuzzled her outstretched palm with quiet tenderness. "The doctors say his recovery is the fastest they've ever seen from hypothermia this severe," said Tom Henderson, standing beside his wife, Lisa, his arm wrapped protectively around her. Both parents were struggling to express the emotions. Churning inside them. At 38, Tom had built a successful career as a construction foreman solving complex problems. But nothing in his life made sense of how a wild horse had known to save his family. "We owe him everything," Tom said, his voice cracking as he watched his daughter gently interact with the massive stallion. "Lisa and I were blacking out. We couldn't protect the kids anymore. Somehow, this horse found us and took over." Lisa Henderson, a 35-year-old elementary school teacher with warm brown eyes and a gentle demeanor, had regained her physical strength, but not her amazement. "I remember this incredible warmth surrounding us during the worst part of the storm," she told Dr. Chong. "Something large and alive was protecting us, but I thought I was hallucinating." Dr. Patricia Chong had been documenting Miracle's recovery for medical journals, fully aware that she was witnessing something unprecedented in veterinary science. Not only had the stallion survived conditions that should have been fatal, but his rapid healing suggested extraordinary physical resilience. More importantly, his behavior pointed to cognitive capabilities never before attributed to wild horses. The bond between Miracle and the Hendersons deepened with each visit. 5-year-old Jake, initially shy around the enormous animal, slowly gained confidence as Miracle showed infinite patience toward the children he had saved. "He remembers us," Jake announced with the confidence only a child could muster, brushing Miracle's neck. "He knows we're the ones he saved." Dr. Morrison had begun studying video footage of the interactions, noting behaviors that challenged the traditional understanding of human-animal relationships. "This horse is forming selective bonds with specific humans based on shared trauma," he explained to Sarah. "He's treating the Hendersons as his herd." The most remarkable moment came when Emma had a panic attack, triggered by memories of being trapped in the snow. Without prompting, Miracle moved protectively between her and the perceived threat, making soft, rhythmic sounds that calmed her. "He's protecting her again," Lisa said, watching with awe as Emma's breathing slowed under the stallion's soothing presence. "Even now, when she's safe, he still feels responsible for her." Sarah had been researching Miracle's history through Bureau of Land Management records, hoping to find clues to his unique behavior. "There's no evidence he ever had contact with humans before the rescue," she reported. "Everything he's done for your family appears to be purely instinctive." But as Miracle's recovery progressed, the question of his future became more complicated. By law, wild horses couldn't remain in captivity permanently. Yet turning Miracle loose into the wild, after what he'd experienced, and given his growing bond with the Hendersons, seemed unthinkable. "He's not the same horse who went into that blizzard," Dr. Chong observed, watching Miracle interact calmly with veterinary staff. "What he did, it changed him in ways we don't fully understand." Tom had been wrestling with an idea, something that seemed far-fetched, yet deeply right. "What if we adopted him?" he asked Sarah during one of their visits. "Is that even legal? Could a wild Mustang become part of a human family?" Sarah didn't answer right away. Her silence wasn't hesitation, it was awe at the possibility. What Tom was proposing would require an entirely new kind of arrangement, something no one had attempted before, but it was possible. That simple question would set in motion a process that challenged every assumption about wild horses, government policy, and the nature of family. The stallion who had risked his life to save strangers was about to learn that sometimes heroes get their own happy endings, surrounded by the people they chose to protect. The legal adoption of Miracle required unprecedented cooperation between federal agencies, wildlife experts, and adoption services. Sarah had never seen a case quite like it. The emotional and behavioral bond between horse and humans was undeniable, and now, the system was catching up to the story. The Bureau of Land Management has agreed to a special adoption arrangement, Sarah announced to the Henderson family during a meeting at the veterinary center. "Given the extraordinary circumstances of Miracle's rescue and his obvious connection to your family, they're approving a private adoption under specific conditions." Dr. Rebecca Foster, a 49-year-old animal behaviorist with short gray hair and kind blue eyes, had been brought in to assess whether Miracle could successfully transition from wild stallion to family companion. Her evaluation would determine if the adoption could proceed safely. for both Miracle and the family that now felt like his own. Miracle is demonstrating remarkable adaptability, Dr. Foster reported after several days of observation. He's maintaining essential wild instincts while displaying trust behaviors typically only seen in horses raised with human contact from birth. The Henderson family had been preparing diligently for Miracle's arrival. Tom converted his construction equipment barn into a proper horse facility, while 8-year-old Emma researched horse care with the focus of a graduate student, determined to give the stallion who saved her life the best possible home. "We got him the softest hay and the cleanest water," Emma explained proudly to Dr. Foster. "And Dad built him a special stall that's bigger than most horse houses, because Miracle is special." Tom had indeed spared no effort or expense. The renovated barn featured heated stalls, automatic water systems, and a covered exercise area to ensure Miracle could move freely regardless of the weather. "This isn't just about shelter," Tom told Sarah during a tour of the finished facility. "Miracle saved my family when I couldn't. Making sure he's comfortable and happy for the rest of his life, it's the least I can do." The adoption ceremony, held at the veterinary center and covered by national media, was unlike anything the Bureau of Land Management had ever experienced. Miracle stood calmly beside the Hendersons as paperwork made what everyone already knew official. This stallion belonged with them. But Miracle's attention stayed fixed on Emma and Jake. "This horse chose his family before we ever got involved," Dr. Chong noted quietly. "The adoption just makes it official." The transition to the Henderson farm went smoothly. Miracle immediately appeared comfortable in his new home. He explored his surroundings, but always returned to places where he could see the house, maintaining the protective instinct that had saved the family in the first place. "He's still guarding us," Lisa observed one evening, watching as Miracle positioned himself between the barn and the house. "I don't think he'll ever stop feeling responsible for our safety." One of the most touching developments was how fully Miracle integrated into daily life. He quickly learned the sound of the school bus and would greet Emma and Jake every afternoon with a soft, welcoming nicker. The giant stallion followed the children around like a silent guardian, offering them freedom to play, but always watching. "He's like a horse-shaped big brother," Jake explained with 5-year-old logic as Miracle stood nearby while he climbed trees. "He makes sure I don't fall, but he doesn't stop me from having fun." Dr. Foster continued to document Miracle's adaptation, noting behaviors never before observed in formerly wild horses. Miracle is maintaining his wild essence while developing domestic behaviors that enhance, rather than replace, his instincts. She reported, "He's created a hybrid identity that combines the best of both worlds." Inspired by their experience, the Henderson family became passionate advocates for wild horse adoption and animal rescue. Tom launched a foundation to provide emergency veterinary care for animals injured in natural disasters. Lisa, a teacher, developed educational programs to promote wildlife conservation. "Miracle didn't just save our lives that night," Lisa told a documentary crew filming their story. "He changed how we understand our relationship with the natural world and our responsibility to protect the animals who share it with us." As autumn approached and the anniversary of their rescue neared, the Hendersons planned a celebration, not just of their survival, but of the bond that had since touched hearts around the world. Miracle had gone from being buried in snow, alone and dying, to thriving as part of a loving family. He had proven that sometimes the greatest miracles happen when strangers choose to save each other. 1 year after the blizzard, Miracle's story inspired the launch of the Miracle Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to emergency animal rescue during natural disasters and to connecting rescued animals with the humans they helped save. The Henderson home became the foundation's headquarters, a hub for a growing movement that was transforming how the country responded to animal emergencies. "We've coordinated over 200 animal rescues this year alone," announced Sarah Collins, who had stepped away from her post as a wildlife ranger to serve as the foundation's executive director. Miracle's story opened people's eyes to the powerful bonds that can form between humans and animals, especially in moments of crisis. Miracle himself had become a beloved ambassador, appearing at fundraising events and educational programs, where his calm demeanor and clear intelligence captivated everyone who met him. The stallion seemed to understand his new role as an ambassador for wild horse adoption and emergency animal rescue. He knows he's special, observed Dr. Chong, who continued to monitor Miracle's health and development as part of an ongoing research study. This horse demonstrates self-awareness and social intelligence that we're still learning to understand. The Henderson family had fully embraced their roles as advocates for animal welfare. Tom now served on the board of several wildlife organizations, while Lisa developed nationwide curriculum on human-animal relationships for schools. Miracle taught us that heroism comes in all forms. Lisa explained to a captivated classroom of third graders, as the majestic stallion stood quietly beside her. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is help someone else, even when it's dangerous for you. Emma, now 9 and completely at ease around horses, had decided to become a veterinarian specializing in large animal rescue. Her bond with Miracle had inspired a dream to save animals the way Miracle had saved her family. When I grow up, I'm going to help horses like Miracle, Emma declared during a television interview. He showed me that animals have feelings and thoughts just like people, and they deserve our help when they're in trouble. Jake, now 6 and fearless around animals of all sizes, had become Miracle's unofficial exercise partner, leading the stallion on daily walks around the property while chatting endlessly about school and his future. I'm going to be a horse. Doctor like Emma, he said proudly. But I'll help the little animals too. Dr. Foster's research on Miracle had led to groundbreaking studies in animal cognition and cross-species emotional bonding. His behavior has opened up entirely new fields in animal psychology, she explained at a global research conference. Miracle suggests that horses possess a much higher level of emotional intelligence than we previously believed. The most profound development came when other families, saved by animals during disasters, began contacting the Miracle Foundation. They shared their own stories of survival and asked for help adopting the animals who had rescued them. Miracle's story gave people permission to believe in these extraordinary bonds, Sarah reported to the Foundation's board. We're seeing a pattern. Animals that save human lives often form permanent attachments. Traditional wildlife management simply hasn't accounted for that until now. The Foundation successfully lobbied for federal policy changes, creating a new legal path for families to adopt animals who had performed life-saving rescues. The Miracle provision has already helped dozens of families stay united with the animals that saved them, announced Senator Patricia Williams, who sponsored the legislation. These bonds represent something deeply human and deserve protection under the law. As winter approached and the anniversary of the rescue drew near, the Hendersons prepared for their annual Miracle Day celebration. What began as a private observance had become a national event, raising funds for animal rescue efforts around the globe. Every year on this day, we remember that miracles happen when beings choose to help each other survive, Tom reflected. Watching Miracle gently play with neighborhood children who came to visit the famous rescue horse. He didn't just save our lives. He taught us how to live them. The stallion, once found dying in the snow, had become a living symbol of hope and courage, proof that compassion can overcome even the most impossible odds. Miracle's legacy lived on in every animal rescued, every family reunited, and every life touched by the foundation that now bore his name. As snow began to fall once again outside the Henderson home, Miracle stood peacefully in his warm stall, surrounded by the family he had chosen to save, and who had chosen to save him in return. The horse who proved that miracles happen when love meets determination continued to show the world that the greatest miracles are the ones that last a lifetime. The Miracle's incredible journey, from a dying Mustang buried under snow to a beloved family member and international icon, proved that the most extraordinary acts of heroism often come from the most unexpected places. His choice to use his own body heat to protect the Henderson family during the worst blizzard in decades didn't just preserve 4 lives. It revealed a depth of intelligence and compassion in animals that many had never dared to believe was possible. The bond between Miracle and the Hendersons transcended species, showing that family is defined not by biology, but by love, sacrifice, and choice. Their story sparked policy changes, transformed public understanding, and created new hope for countless animals and humans alike. Today, The Miracle Foundation continues to lead emergency animal rescues and support adoptions between rescued animals and the families they save. And Miracle, now 12 years old, remains healthy, vibrant, and deeply loved, living proof that when we choose compassion over comfort and sacrifice over survival, we create miracles that benefit the world. If Miracle's story inspired you, subscribe to our channel for more true stories of animal heroism and the unbreakable bonds that form between people and the creatures who save them. Leave a like if Miracle's courage and the Henderson family's gratitude touched your heart. Share this story with someone who needs a reminder that miracles happen every day. When ordinary beings choose extraordinary love, what would you sacrifice to save the life of a stranger? Let us know in the comments. And remember, sometimes the greatest heroes have 4 legs and hearts bigger than their bodies.